Hi guys, this is Kung Fu Trees. I'm going to be playing a Pauper challenge with this blue-black Delver Reanimator list. It's basically a blue-black Angler Delver deck. There's 4 Delvers, 4 Gurmags, 1 Scavenger, Solid Scavenger, then 1 random Augur Bolus. But it's also using the new Shred Riverwinder along with Exhumes. And these are good just in general because extra 5/5s are pretty good. The early 5/5s are kind of the best part of the blue-black Angler deck, and so we have extra. And Strike Riverwinder in particular is very good against things like Boros, Blue-Red Control, or Blue-Red Delver. It really does kind of, and those used to be very bad matchups, but I think with Strike Riverwinder, the matchup becomes a lot better. And yeah, kind of go along with that, there's a Nihil Spellbomb. Otherwise, this deck plays very little removal. The only removal that this deck plays is Vapor Stacks. This is kind of good because basically the opponent's creature doesn't go into the graveyard. And I think because this deck doesn't have much room for removal, I think it's better to just plan on being the block, instead of basically trying to use removal to wipe out the opponent's entire board. So yeah, that's basically the plan, which is to use things like Gurmag Angler, Strip Rewinder block, and then if they manage to get a creature to be big enough, either with a pump spell or with something, or like they triple block sometimes, you can use Vapor Snack to pull them out. You don't actually need actual removal. Rush of Vitality is also kind of good. First of all, it's just a pretty flexible spell. There's lots of uses for it. But in particular with Stripe Riverwinder, one of the only ways for many decks to deal with it is to like quadruple block it. When they do that, Rush of Vitality will blow them out. On that, there's 2 dispels, 4 counter spells, and there's usual a lot of card draw or card filtering, 4 brainstorms, 3 mental notes, 4 Thought-Scars, 2 ponders, and 2 gushes. This deck is not playing things like Think Twice. It doesn't really have the time to do that, since Strike Riverwinder is also cycling. So basically, your early turns are spent just cycling stuff and playing big creatures, and then later on, this deck doesn't really get above a whole lot of mana because you're frequently you're brainstorming lands back and discarding them with Mental Note, so it's difficult to get above like 5 mana. So in the late game, I think Ponder is even better than Think Twice, just because Think Ponder sees 1 card deeper and does it way cheaper. Yeah, so that's main deck. In the sideboard, there's a bunch of cards for aggro decks. So that's 3 Spontaneous Mutation, 2 Shrivel, 1 Vampiric Link. So these auras are pretty good. Again, they don't put the opponent's creatures in the graveyard, and they also do things like if the opponent has Rancor or Hunger the Howl Pack on one of their creatures, Spontaneous Mutation deals with both their creature as well as the Rancor or Hunger. So it could be kind of a 2-for-1. There's some Shrivels. Again, also 4 Stompy, and I should mention, these 4 also come in against Affinity to kind of shut down the 4/4s. So Shrivels are good against like Fairies, Krilpa. They're just a general reasonable card overall. This deck is probably not great against Elves, but Shrivel might help. So yeah. And then there's a bunch of cards for control decks. There's 2 Stormbound Geist against decks with Chainer's Edict. I probably would also side these in against Boros, and also maybe against Delver. Probably against Delver. I wouldn't side these in against Tron, though. And then these 5 are definitely coming in against Tron. So 1 extra Dispel, 1 extra Deprive, 1 Deep Analysis. I actually found that I don't like Deep Analysis that much, which is why I don't have more. It's just, this deck is so constrained on mana usually that 4 mana is a whole lot to have to pay. And then 2 extra Nihil Spellbombs. And then there's also 1 Fangor Marauder, just as extra affinity hate, and 1 Aura Flux, just to give a puncher's chance against Boggles. So yeah, that's the deck. I think this deck is quite good. If I bomb out this one, I'll probably try this deck again next week, because I think this deck is like at least tier 1.5. It's very good in my testing so far. So yeah, hopefully this works out.